Now that we started this channel, it's going to pretty well be around the hat format, and before that, today I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the hat format, take a look at a little bit of a retrospective, which I am very excited to talk about. Today, we are going to be reacting to this video, hat format, Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal Swan Song by Janjo Zone. You could go support the channel in the pinned comment description down below. I would really appreciate it if you guys did that over there, but I can't wait for it. This is my favorite format of Yu-Gi-Oh! This brought me back to the game once I heard about it, and I am excited to talk about it today. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's watch this video together.
I can't believe we're already here. The finale to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal era.
Okay, and I'm guessing that this channel ended up... this is my first time watching this. I like skimmed through the first little bit of the video to kind of like get an idea of what we're going to be talking about, and it seemed very well structured. I'm a sucker for galaxy backgrounds, so today we're gonna be watching this video talking about hat format.
Just yesterday, I started covering the introduction to Xyz monsters. And then here we are. Like any eras, it had its highs and lows, such as racing rabbits and dueling dragons alike. But
I don't know, man. There was a lot of highs this time around. This was the perfect competitive game, in my opinion. Well, not perfect's a different... Perfect is tough, because obviously there are things that I would change, but it is the perfect format that we've ever had, or as close to perfect as we could possibly get.
which height will the final format be on? Will it be a great conclusion, or will Zexal end with self-sabotage?
I know a lot of people had problems with the end of hat format, but the end of the Zexal era. I guess it's the same thing, right? But I personally really enjoyed it.
One way to find out is to go back into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Tombs and uncover that sacred chamber of hat format.
Let's go. I'm ready.
The time is April 2014. We finished covering the events at the famous YCS Vegas, and now we head to YCS Paris. The tournament was filled with different decks, most prominently Mermail winning and Evil Swarm being a close second.
But this is the thing about it. This is what I love about hat format, is you could play with pretty well any deck, and any new deck could pop up. You can mix and match cards, and that's what I really loved about this game back in the day, man. You could make any deck that you wanted and make it viable.
Chainburn getting 5th and Evil Swarm getting so high was surprising, even if plenty despise the burn deck.
Okay, the burn deck is not my cup of tea. I don't like the burn decks. I don't like Exodia decks. That like gets under me just a little bit. But since we're showing off a couple decks over here, that doesn't make it better. I was trying to look for a different OBS scene for you guys. I need to make one where it's a little bit smaller with my webcams. I'll be looking to doing that moving forward with videos, guys.
While this was technically part of the last video's format, the story of this video was brewing behind the scenes. See, the same day as YCS Paris, a new side set came out, Dragons of Legend. Despite this side set containing power cards I'll discuss in a minute, said set was not legal in Paris.
Dude, that's another thing that's a little bit frustrating, but it's kind of understandable, because what are you supposed to do, like, you know, make rules for the entire world?
This put the YCS in a weird spot. It was a YCS, sure, however, it was one viewed as completely irrelevant due to the looming set. What was so important about Dragons of Legend? The set was a collector's set featuring a number of new nostalgia bait, like...
Dude, and the nostalgia... Dude, it's so crazy what they end up doing with nostalgia bait, because even to this day, like, I keep up with modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, just to see what's going on. I don't pay attention to, like, the deck list or something. It's just like, oh, what's going on? I haven't looked at the ban list in a few months. I mean, let's go see what they ended up doing. Oh my god, malicious. They're still swapping that around. Something along those lines. It's crazy to me, the cards that still come out, where I'm like, oh my god, I remember watching that from the anime when I was a kid.
I have Timaeus and Ra's Disciple.
I know! And like, I wanted to use those cards so bad as a kid, and now they're actually coming out. Dude, Timaeus, do you know how bad I wanted to use this when I was a kid? Do you know how bad I wanted to use Timaeus? My brother and I had to make them up. Draw on some, like, pieces of paper, put them in a sleeve.
And Ra's Disciple. While there were many decent inclusions such as Mathematician, Mount of the Bound Creator, Carbonetin, and Gate Blocker.
All great additions. I really like those. I'm a big fan of Mount of the Bound Creator, especially with the Kish Keys. Gate Blocker was very underrated. I use that on and off in my anti-meta deck. Something that you guys can also expect from this channel moving forward, because this is only the second video that we've uploaded, is taking a look at art on the cards. I love the artwork on some of these, man.
All eyes were towards a select pile. Wiretap could negate a trap activation for free, with the downside being that it shuffles the trap back into the deck.
Yeah, that was an interesting card too. I remember seeing a lot of play on that, and I've experimented it with here and there, but I kind of just like using, if I want to use a trap like this a counter trap, I either use Solemn Judgment or Dark Bribe. I don't care that they get the +1. At least I get like the spell and trap effect.
Instead of destroying it. But since it wasn't a guarantee your opponent would draw into it again, the risk was worth the reward.
Agreed.
Though this was a smaller impact compared to the other cards. The new Fire and Ice hands synergize with one another as great removal for any deck.
Yes, I loved these two cards. I implemented them into a lot of my decks. I loved these ones.
If they're destroyed by your opponent in any fashion, they can pop a card type depending on the specific hand, and then special summon the other one.
Yep.
This allows you to abuse your opponent's attack mode monsters and pick apart their board.
Sorry, I'm having trouble like listening to the video and like getting nostalgic feelings for some of these cards, watching them in like anime shows.
While gaining card advantage. These two elemental hands force duelists to really think about their own board in a more liquid state.
Yep, absolutely, and this is where my Frog Monarchs came into play. We're just gonna remove them all. We're gonna put them on the top of the deck.
That in turn slowed the typical game state down. Then we got the Belle of the Ball, Soul Charge.
Yup.
This is like Monster Reborn on crack.
Yep.
Pay 1,000 life points per monster you wish to special summon from the grave, except that you can't attack this turn.
And it was always worth it, right? And you could, for me personally, and I know a lot of people did have problems like just paying all the life points because you got such an advantage from Soul Charge. I always just added something into my deck that made me gain a little bit of life points back because I'm a big fan of Solemn Judgment. So I cut my points in half all the time.
The Summoning Sickness was absolutely needed, yet it didn't do much to the overall impact. By simply paying half your life points, you can get a +4 minimum.
Yep.
You could even just revive 2 and do extra deck plays from there.
It's true, and Prominence Hand is such an underrated card, by the way.
As the hand slowed the game down, Soul Charge would... Sorry, the pun.
Now, to be honest with you guys, hang on, we'll listen to the pun.
Charge up, kill potential.
I didn't hate Soul Charge. I know that there's like some mixed feelings about Soul Charge. Is it better without it? Is it better to have it banned? I would say yes, but I didn't have a problem with it being in the format.
Sets-wise, the end of Zexal would have one more core set in its barrel, and that would be Primal Origin on May 16th. Prio is mostly known for introducing the artifact archetype.
Now, I actually don't know if this is a hot take or not. I didn't really like the artifact cards. I was never a fan of them. I was never a fan of the playstyle personally, and this was probably my least favorite deck in the entirety of the format.
Strategy revolves around being able to set artifact monsters in your back row.
Yeah, I just didn't like that. You know, I have no reason for it, to be honest with you. Like, I know it was powerful, but I just didn't like it.
When your opponent to destroy your set artifacts, you, the controller, get benefits via disruptive effects. Monsters that are also a back row? Interesting concept.
I will say again, like, look at the artwork for these cards, man. It's so cool. That's something we're definitely going to be doing on this channel, guys.
I wonder if Konami will explore this further in 2014. While not equally, but important nonetheless, Prio and Dragons of Legend gave Sylvans much needed support.
Yeah, I also didn't love the Sylvan decks either. Like, I just glazed hat format so much, but there were a couple decks that I personally didn't really like. I didn't like the Sylvan decks a lot. Back in the day, I used to play with my dad, and my dad was a fan of the Sylvans.
With the addition of new, powerful rank 8 Sylvans, Sylvan Charity to dig through the deck, Soul Charge for Lonefire Blossom plays, and Curry Bandit to excavate one of many bountiful spell cards, the Sylvan deck gained plenty of combo potential.
Yeah, and it ended up being really good. And what I liked about it too is, like, speaking of Miracle Fertilizer, we'll use that as an example. There, you could always mix these in with some old cards to make your deck viable. There's always some new cards. Like, I don't know if Miracle Fertilizer is a good example for it, but like, it's an older card that you can just kind of mix in with some new stuff, and then it ended up being viable again.
With heavy use of Miracle Fertilizer, Sylvans would move on into the format being a fearsome spell-oriented deck, which was unique among its peers. Prio would also include plenty of strong singular cards like Traptrix Dionea, Majesty's Fiend.
I love Ragnar Zero and I love Majesty's Fiend. Excellent addition to Frog Monarchs to drop that card every once in a while. And Ragnar Zero, I ended up building an entire deck around it, dude, with Burden of the Mighty. That's what I love about hat format. It doesn't have to be the best deck in the world. At least you can make it work.
Ragnar Zero, Galaxy Tomahawk, Karen Gorgon, and Diamond Core of Kawaki Meru. Though perhaps more importantly in the short term would be Madolche and Jelly. This is because one day later at YCS Philly, Chris LeBlanc would win this new format with the previously mentioned Madolche.
Okay, hang on. I want to see that deck real quick.
Chris LeBlanc would win this.
Let's see the deck over here. Is it anything like to go crazy? Is anything to write home about? And sorry guys, I need to look into getting some more OBS presets where it just makes my webcam a little bit smaller. I feel like I've seen this type of, like, I don't see anything out of the ordinary over here. Is it just like the first one that succeeded or something like that? I'm not too sure, to be honest.
New format with the previously mentioned Madolche. The archetype has been gaining momentum for a while now, and with the new Angeli that contribute itself in order to special summon a Madolche from...
Now, the problem with this is, though, is I didn't really like the Madolche cards because I don't know, I don't like using, like, little kids.
the deck, the strategy essentially now has its own Lone Fire Blossom.
Yeah.
That said, there have been claims of soft cheating on LeBlancs and doing an assortment of illegal plays, such as using Angeli's once per turn effect twice in a turn.
Oh, did they get away with that at YCS? Is that what he's saying? If so, that's wild.
Would make Konami remove the match from their website.
Oof.
1 month later would be the final main release of the Zexal era, Realm of Light Structure Deck. What a weird way to go out on.
That's my thing. I've always been a big Lightsworn guy.
Deck about an archetype made in the GX era. While
yes! Yeah, I love the GX era. Give me some Lightsworn strength. We need more of it.
Only extra deck monster.
Michael was goated.
A new Synchro monster. At the very least, the new additions were nice for fans of the deck, with the likes of Raiden.
And that's me. I was a big fan of the Lightsworn decks, pure Lightsworn too. I like Twilight. I like the Chaos decks, like everything that you could intertwine into that. But man, just pure Lightsworn was always something that I loved playing.
And of Lightsworn, a tuner that gave the deck a quicker milling card.
And a 4-star too.
The last lap of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal begins as we enter Nationals season. Nationals would range from late June through mid-July. There'd be a variety of winning decks like Machina Gadget and
yep, of course. Like, what else? What else would you have winning in this format?
America, Mermail in Europe and Central America.
Yeah, Mermails was always fun too, and I like how people can mix and match cards in that deck too.
And Fire Fist Hand Artifact in Oceania. But the largest event has to be the North American World Championship Qualifier on July 12th. This would be the event where Corey McDuffie would win with Hand Artifact Trap Tricks.
Is this an original deck that he came up with? Because I don't know. Is that why we're talking about it, or was it just like going through the competitive scene in the Zexal format? I mean, obviously that deck works. We've seen it a lot now.
Or otherwise known as Hat. How could such a creative idea of 3 different decks make for a win at such a major level?
I see. So it was the first one. That's what I love about this game. That's what caused me to fall out of love with the game, is because you can no longer do that in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I love seeing original builds like, hey, this all works together. I'm going to play it. And then all of a sudden you're a champion. That's what I love about it. The creativity that you could bring to this game is out of this world.
After all, the buzz at the time was that Hat was not as good as people were theorizing. The hand engine was great to slow the game down, which melded well with a trap-heavy strategy.
Yep.
The Trap Tricks engine gave you access to powerful removal, like the limited bottomless trap hole and the unlimited Trap Tricks trap hole.
Yeah, and that was such a nightmare to deal with. No pun intended, I just read the name. But man, it was horrible to deal with that.
With Prio adding Trap Tricks Dionea, you now have easier rank 4 capabilities and a second use of a trap hole card, which was only amplified by Soul Charge.
True.
And with the Artifact engine, you could hide your tricky artifact monsters amongst your traps.
Isn't it interesting too to think about it? Like, looking back on this, I'm like, yeah, that works. Everybody knows Hat. Everybody knows how great this deck is, right? But at the time, nobody ever thought about doing something like that, and that's why I appreciate the creativity, man.
Made for a sneaky control deck that created a minefield mentality. As such, duels could now play more trap-focused decks, which led to a rather innovative format.
Yep, and a very, very fun game.
It was clear that Konami was in fact correct in fearing what Trap Tricks could do. Coming in 3rd place, Jimmy Nguyen had his own take on the mixed deck.
And again, just proving me right too. You can just take old cards, you can build upon it. Look, Thunder King Ryo, older card. You can bring back cards that were a meta so long a long time ago. Fiendish Chain, Breakthrough Skill. I know that was a little bit popular in hot format, but it's really, really cool to see the mixture of the old and the new in these decks.
Just swapping out the hands for a couple copies of Card D, making this deck be called Cat. It opts for a heavier artifact engine with Beagle Talk and Ignition, resulting in a combo build compared to Hat's Control.
And it worked very well.
This would also be similar to the Fire Fist variant back at Oceania with...
Now, I like the Fire... For me personally, I had the most fun playing against people who did use Fire Fist along with it. I don't know why. I thought it was strong. I thought it was fun. I like the different traps that people could use.
That one keeping the hands, but removing trap tricks for more artifacts and Fire Fist cards. The build in North America would include Trap Tricks cards, which you could call it fat. The remaining top decks would be a story of variety with the likes of Infernity.
I loved Infernity. It was broken back in the day when it first came out, but now it's just a very, very, well, I mean, I don't know about like modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm talking about like now, but I mean in hat format. Now it's just very strong, very fun.
Blue Eyes Ruler, Madolche, Sylvan, Lightsworn Ruler.
That's me. That's me. Except I never use the Dragon Rulers. I don't know why. And like, again, I know you can have a really, really fun Dragon engine with it, but for me personally, I had a lot of fun just playing pure Lightsworns.
Kawaki Mirror Fire Fist.
My brother loved that.
And Frog OTK. Wow.
I do not like OTK decks. I don't like it, but Frog Monarch was my main deck in like the history of playing this game.
Wow. A nice outlook for Nationals season. Only a couple days later would be the final list of the Zexal era. This list would see yugioh Guardian coming off Forbidden status.
You remember when that happened, man? How like crazy that was when yugioh Guardian first came back. It's like we get to use that again. And it's funny like looking back on it too, where it's like you probably could have unbanned that a long time ago. Formula Synchron coming back, Prison, Mirror Force, Reinforcement of the Army. There's a lot of things here like Magician of Faith. Why was that banned? Like, I get it, like, back in the day, but it's funny how long these cards stay banned for.
And Gear getting limited. Though keep in mind that yugioh was still banned in the OCG, meaning it would be banned for the upcoming World Championship.
Oof.
Speak of the devil, from August 9th through the 10th would be said event. Per usual, at least of this relative period, the showcase of the Dueling Elite would feature a plethora of different decks. Cat, Bujin, Geargia, Trap Tricks, Machina Gadget.
And I love that deck type too. That's always really fun.
Prophecy, Lightsworn Ruler, Worm, Madolche.
Oh, worms are so underrated. Guys, like again, you can make a worm deck viable in this format.
And Evil Swarm.
Love Evil Swarms.
However, first place would belong to Sahabi Kiradine and Infernity. This is a prime example of what Soul Charge could add to a deck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I always liked Infernity because it was always very, very strong, but I wouldn't say it was ever, like, strong enough to the point where it wasn't fun to play against.
Combine that with Lavolvo Chain, as well as new additions to reduce the deck's innate breaking potential, well then, baby, you got a stew going.
Yep.
All in all, Worlds was a fitting finale to the Zexal era. Between April and August 2014, the
Infernity's popping up a little bit more, eh? And again, like, look at the difference. Look at the difference over here in some of the builds. It's always interesting, man. It's always interesting to look at. Dude, Nightbeam is one of the most underrated cards in the history of this game. I loved using that card. But the problem is, I ended up swapping it out for Galaxy Cyclone as time went on. And I don't remember if Galaxy Cyclone is a hat format card, but the fact that you can use it twice was just obviously the one that made it work for me.
Zexal era only continued to improve and innovate. It was a rare trap-heavy environment with an emphasis on the extra deck toolbox.
Yeah, but it wasn't even just that. You could use anything. You could use synchros. You could use spell base. Like it was the perfect format to play this game.
While it's dubbed hat format by fans, it was not a time dominated by a single deck.
Yep.
Many consider it a generally nice end to the fourth era of Yu-Gi-Oh, complementing the balance from fire-water format. Even though Soul Charge was undoubtedly busted.
Okay. Was it busted? Probably. But was it to the point where it made the game not fun? No, not at all. Not at all. It's just like, oh, great, Soul Charge. I got my Dark Bribe ready.
Your big decks, historically speaking, included Hat, Cat, Fat, Mermail, Machina Gadget, Infernity, and Madolche, with further solid decks being Evil Swarm, Ruler variants, Bujin, and Sylvan.
For just top decks, that is a phenomenal diverse amount of decks. But it's not even just that. You can get into a billion other deck types and people make it work, and then one just pops up here and there and ends up winning or like placing, and it was always really cool to see.
Personally, I'm surprised I got through Zexal as quickly as I did. One or two formats aside, it was a rather healthy few years with plenty of fun formats to play.
And I hope that it only gains more traction over time, man, because I would love to play this thing online regularly, and then we can get this channel going, we can stream it, play with viewers. I love to do all that stuff.
Tengu Plant, Abyss, Meadowlands, Fire, Water, and Hat. As an enjoyer of the XZ's summon, there were many periods between 2011 and 2014 that I found myself quite liking, or at the very least appreciating.
Yeah,
While
I completely agree. I loved pretty well everything going on with the game at this point.
Argue it had a rocky start, it found its footing rather swiftly with minimal stumbles.
Wait, what kind of art piece is that? Hang on.
A rocky start, it found its footing.
I don't recognize that card. That's a very cool artwork, man. We're going to be looking at that on the channel, guys.
Rather swiftly with minimal stumbles. And yes, I mean Tengu Plant was part of that rocky start, as I would consider that to the Zexal era as GOAT is to GX. That is to say, it took a bit for Zexal to come onto its own and shake the air off the era prior.
I think that's fair to say. I think it's fair to say, and it ended up doing a really, really good job doing so.
But speaking for hat format, it's clear as day as to why many enjoy this Time Wizard format in particular. You can feel the flow.
Dude, I always just used rank up magic in any deck, and then, oh my god, I'm having a blank. I don't remember what number card it was, but it was the one that was just like 4,500 attack or something I ended up putting in.
For all intents and purposes, this was the swan song of the Zexal era.
And I thought it was very well said.
Things would swing in a different direction.
And yeah, that different direction actually ended up, unfortunately, taking me out of the game personally. I could play hat format forever, you guys. Just the amount of decks, and I guarantee you, as long as this thing starts like or continues gaining a little bit of traction, there will be more decks popping up. There will be more builds coming up. There will be more people finding creative ways to introduce different cards and different decks into the meta. I loved it. I think it's fantastic. I need to find a way to play this online, guys. Let me know what you think of everything down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to continue watching the channel, check out this video on screen right now where we talk about my experience with hat format, why I don't like the modern game, and why I am kind of uploading about hat format on this channel. I would love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, everybody.